Hello, my name's Skip, and this is from the Fourth Rose review of Ender's Game. Now, as you probably know, Ender's Game is based on the worldwide bestseller of the same name, Ender's Game, by Orson Scott Card. This has been about 26 year in the making. There's been a couple tries at making Ender's Game into a movie, and finally Gavin Hood did it, and it's on the big screen. And let me tell you, I think this movie is fantastic. I absolutely think they took the essence of the book and the majority of the story of what the book was and what it meant, and put it right there on the screen. So if you read this book when you're a kid or an adult, you know basically that book is on the movie. It's the story of Ender Wiggin, played by Asa Butterfield, who was in a huge, big blockbuster last year called Hugo. And he is basically a student in training to be part of the fleet that fights these ant-like aliens who the United States or the Federation, or where I can't remember what they call the group of military group of people that fought the bad guys or the aliens, as they're called in this. So he ends up having to get in a fight with a kid at his school, and unbeknownst to him, he's being watched by Colonel Graff. And Colonel Graff is played by Harrison Ford, and he really has a lot in store for Ender, and he wants to see what he's made of. And so he basically is videotaping him or recording him or whatever you call it to check out what he can do, what he can't do. And one thing leads to another, and he comes to Ender's house and tells his parents that he has been selected for the program, the military program. He has to go into outer space, and he become a recruit in this organization. And he trains with a lot of other kids, but he really misses his sister, Valentine, played by Abigail Breslin. They're really close. And but when he gets up there, he finds that he doesn't have a lot of friends because he's smarter than most of the other kids in his group. He makes a few friends, but not too many, and he kind of wants to keep the relationship with his sister by writing. Of course, that gets him in trouble. But he still has to go about doing what he's doing, and it turns out he gets moved up to the next group of kids, and he leads a group of kids he ends up leading a group of kids called the Dragons, and because he's not getting along with his leader of his group that he was in, called the Salamanders, and then he has to battle the Salamanders in another group, in, they call it like the War Games or whatever, the War Room, and they have all these obstacles in there, and they have to knock each other out. They have a suit that if you fire on the suit, they freeze, and that basically means they're out of the game. Now, in the movie, we have what's called simulations, and he starts training his group of dragons and the people that he feels most used to working with, and one of them is played by Haley Steinfeld. We all know her from the remake of True Grit. Now, she's really his kind of closest friend up there in the training command, and when he gets to the training aspect of it, it becomes like a real life kind of training program where he's really in command of real ships and real armies and so forth, and he's fighting the real enemy, the real aliens, on their turf in these simulations. And of course, Colonel Graff has an assistant played by, or a commander played by Viola Davis, and she's worried. She doesn't know if Ender can handle these situations and if he's ready for this. but of course Colonel Graff gives him a helping hand. He gives him a person to try to prepare him mentally and physically for the war games and the simulations, and that's Ben Kingsley, and he was the hero of the last war, and his character really kind of helps Ender realize that he has to do this, that he is the only hope for his world to eliminate these aliens. Mazer Rackham is who Ben Kingsley plays, but there's an ultimate battle of simulation, and I'm not going to give you away what happens during that, but I just think this movie is such a great movie. I think it's well worth your time, and I really believe it's a see it for me. It's a big see it. I think it has really risen to what anybody could have thought this movie would have been, considering it's been so long in the making. And I give Ender's Game a big see it, and this is Skip, and this has been my review of Ender's Game from the Fourth Row.